This is the domain of a hidden power, a truth so fundamental to the mechanics of human society that we have built entire systems of etiquette to disguise it. A truth that Niccolò Machiavelli, the great and terrible philosopher of Florence, understood 5 centuries ago with a clarity that still chills the bone. What we so often call respect is merely the shadow cast by fear. We are creatures of comfort, you and I. We crave simple narratives. And the idea that we respect those in authority because of their inherent merit is a deeply comforting one. It allows us to believe in a just world, in a system where virtue is rewarded with influence. To admit the alternative is to admit something far more unsettling about ourselves. And so, we perform a kind of convenient self-deception. It is far easier on the ego to say, "I respect my boss's authority," than it is to say, "I am afraid of being fired." It feels nobler to claim, "I have great respect for that powerful figure," than to confess, "I am terrified of the consequences of crossing them." We label the dangerous swamp a sacred grove on our mental map, not because it is holy, but because we are forced to travel through it, and calling it holy makes the journey feel less like a terrified scramble for survival and more like a pilgrimage. This is how power disguises itself in the fabric of everyday life. It launders fear and resells it to us as respect. True power, in its most refined and effective form, doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to brandish weapons or make overt threats. It simply arranges the room, the office, the family dinner, the public forum, in such a way that everyone else whispers. It cultivates an atmosphere where disagreement feels not like a difference of opinion, but like a transgression, a violation. And we, in turn, become unwitting worshippers at its altar. Think of the gods of our daily lives, the volatile manager whose mood dictates the entire office's productivity, the domineering family patriarch whose unspoken disapproval can ruin a holiday, the public intellectual whose followers will swarm and attack anyone who dares to question their doctrine. We don't bow to the light of their wisdom, but to the heat we fear will burn us if we step too close. We offer them our silence, our agreement, our flattery, not as gifts, but as sacrifices to appease a volatile deity. We call this reverence. We call this high esteem. Machiavelli would call it by its true name, prudence in the face of danger. He saw the raw, unvarnished wiring of the human machine. He understood that while our ideals may reach for the heavens, our actions are almost always tethered to the earth by the simple, powerful anchor of self-preservation. And in this, he gave us the key to unlock the difference between what we are told to feel and what we actually do. Here, Machiavelli lays the cornerstone of his chillingly pragmatic fortress of a philosophy. He doesn't speak in platitudes. He speaks of mechanics, of cause and effect in the human heart. It is held, as he says, by a dread of punishment which will never desert you. It's primal. It connects directly to our most basic survival instinct. You might disappoint someone you love or respect, and you will feel guilt. But the consequences are often emotional, internal. You will not, however, willingly provoke someone who has the power to take away your livelihood, your freedom, or your safety. The dread of that punishment is a constant, unwavering companion. It never fails to motivate. The respect paid to the powerful figure is not a gift freely given from the heart. It is a tax paid to avoid a penalty. It is the careful, measured step of someone who knows the floor is littered with traps. So where do we draw the line? How do we separate the gold of true respect from the fool's gold of fear? The distinction lies not in the outward action, but in the internal choice. Fear coerces. It holds a gun to your head, whether that gun is social ostracism, financial ruin, or simple humiliating disapproval, and demands agreement. Your compliance is not a choice, it is a ransom payment. You nod along not because you are convinced, but because the cost of dissent is too high. Your silence is not a sign of contemplation. It is the silence of a hostage waiting for the threat to pass. It is a forced, brittle quiet, filled with unspoken arguments and swallowed rebuttals. Respect, true respect, invites. It creates a space for your mind to operate freely. It is a choice made without compulsion. When you respect someone, you may fall silent, but your silence is different. It is an attentive, active silence. You are not holding your tongue for fear of consequence. You are quieting your own voice so that you might better hear another's. You listen not to appease, but to understand. You may still disagree, but the disagreement is a bridge to deeper comprehension, not a declaration of war. Fear demands submission. Respect earns consideration. Write in the comments, have you ever seen fear passed off as respect? The architecture of fear is built on a simple, universal foundation. Machiavelli saw this with piercing insight when he observed the behavior of princes and peasants alike. He knew that control, lasting control, was not a matter of winning hearts, but of managing anxieties. He continues this line of thought, reinforcing the sheer utility of fear over other, softer emotions. He states, "He who is the cause of another becoming powerful is ruined." On the surface, this sounds like a simple warning against creating competitors, but the psychological truth is deeper. When you empower someone out of love, admiration, or true respect, you are handing them a tool they can use independently of you. Their power becomes their own. They are no longer bound by that fragile chain of obligation we spoke of. They can, and often will, act in their own self-interest, which may no longer align with yours. But when you rule through fear, you are not truly making another person powerful. You are merely lending them a longer leash. Their power is conditional. It is derived entirely from you, the source of their fear. The moment they act against your interests, you can retract that leash, and with it, their perceived power vanishes. The person respected out of fear is not a partner in power. They are a well-managed subordinate, constantly aware that their standing is not earned, but permitted. Their authority is a phantom, a reflection of the greater, more terrifying power they serve. This is why the most tyrannical bosses often surround themselves not with the most competent people, but the most dependent and fearful. Competence can breed independence. Fear breeds obedience. And this brings us to the hidden signs, the subtle tells that what you are witnessing is not respect, but its cold-blooded impersonator. These are not written on signs or announced in speeches. They are written in the language of the body, in the pauses between words, in the things left unsaid. Watch a meeting where one person dominates the room. Notice the man who is afraid to object. He will not simply be quiet. He will perform his agreement. He will nod too eagerly. He will laugh a fraction too loud at the powerful person's jokes. His contributions, if any, will be careful echoes of what has already been said, framed as a new thought. He isn't adding to the conversation. He is camouflaging himself within it. His goal is not to be heard, but to be seen agreeing. This is the posture of fear. Look at the person who praises someone they clearly, privately, do not trust. If you recognize such moments, please like the video. I remember standing in the wings of a university auditorium years ago. A celebrated, notoriously abrasive academic, a man named Dr. Alistair Finch, was about to receive a Lifetime Achievement Award. On stage, the dean was delivering a glowing tribute. He spoke of Finch's uncompromising vision, his rigorous standards, and the profound respect he commanded in his field. From my vantage point, I could see both the stage and the first few rows of the faculty. Finch sat on stage, a marble bust of a man, accepting the praise as his due. But in the audience, I saw the truth. I saw his departmental colleagues, people who had worked under him for decades. They were applauding, yes, their hands were moving, but their faces were masks of stone. There was no warmth in their eyes, no joy in their posture. It was the polite, mechanical applause of a captive audience. I knew one of them, a gentle, brilliant historian named Arthur. I had seen him, just weeks before, utterly gutted after Finch had publicly ridiculed his latest research paper over a minor footnote discrepancy. How do we calibrate our own compass to point toward true north, not just away from the nearest predator? It is a subtle art, but it begins with observing the conditions under which respect is given. True respect is resilient. It remains even in disagreement. You can have a fierce argument with a mentor you truly respect, and at the end of it, the respect is not only intact, it may even be deepened. The debate was a sign of trust, the trust that your relationship is strong enough to withstand the friction of differing ideas. Respect creates a space where challenge is seen as a form of engagement, not an attack. Fear, on the other hand, is brittle. It shatters at the first sign of dissent. The moment you contradict the person who is feared, the illusion of respect vanishes, and you are immediately recategorized as a threat, an obstacle, a problem to be managed. The relationship is conditional upon your absolute agreement. There is no room for debate, only for obedience. Think of it this way. Respect is an internal choice. It is a verdict your heart and mind render after evaluating someone's character, their knowledge, their actions. It is a quality you give to them. He advised, the first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. This is the ultimate diagnostic tool. Forget what a person says. Forget their titles, their awards, their self-proclaimed virtues. Look at their inner circle. Does a leader surround themselves with smart, independent thinkers who are not afraid to challenge them? This is a sign of a confident ruler who values wisdom and seeks the best outcome. This is a person who has earned true respect, for they are not afraid of being questioned. They have built their power on the solid ground of competence. Or do they surround themselves with sycophants, with yes men, with anxious flatterers, with people whose primary skill is agreeing? This is the unmistakable sign of a ruler who governs by fear. They are not seeking wisdom, they are seeking validation. They are not building a team, they are collecting a court of mirrors to reflect their own image back at them. Their power is built on the sand of intimidation, and they know deep down that a single wave of genuine dissent could wash it all away. When you learn to apply this method, you become the intelligent observer. You look for the silence after a powerful person speaks. Is it a silence of consideration or a silence of calculation? You watch the smiles. Are they open and easy, or are they fixed, brittle things like spun sugar left out in the damp? These are the tells, the subtle cracks in the facade. But they only reveal the symptom, not the disease itself. The performance of respect we saw in Arthur, his desperate, hollow standing ovation for a man who had publicly gutted him, was not an isolated act. It was a single note in a much larger, more chilling symphony. Dr. Finch did not merely command Arthur's fear. He had constructed an entire environment where fear was the official currency. And in such an economy, sycophants are the chief executives. Think of it as an architecture of silence. A leader who rules by fear, like our Dr. Finch, doesn't just demand obedience. He, consciously or not, builds a world around him that is intolerant of dissent. Questions become challenges. Alternative viewpoints become acts of rebellion. The truth, in its unvarnished, often inconvenient form, becomes the ultimate transgression. In this world, the most valuable skill is not competence or insight or integrity. It is the ability to correctly guess what the powerful person wants to hear and to deliver it with an air of profound conviction. This is the domain of the sycophant. We often dismiss the sycophant as a contemptible, weak creature, a flatterer, a yes-man. But this is a dangerous underestimation. The sycophant is not merely a passive accessory to power. They are an active and essential component of the machine. They are the gatekeepers. They are the ones who launder fear and resell it to the leader as respect. They are the ones who ensure the silence remains unbroken. They are the architects. The leader, insulated by these courtiers, begins to believe the performance. His own echo chamber becomes his reality. He mistakes the absence of no for a chorus of yes. And why wouldn't he? It's the most seductive lie in the world. Our guide in these dark corridors, Machiavelli, understood this dynamic with chilling clarity. He saw that a prince surrounded by flatterers was a prince in mortal danger, not from an assassin's blade, but from the slow poison of delusion. I once knew a man, a CEO named Marcus Thorne. Unlike the volcanic Dr. Finch, Marcus was a man of immense, almost unnerving stillness. He ran a multi-billion-dollar technology firm, and he did so not with shouting matches, but with a quiet, surgical precision. His displeasure was never loud. It was a dropped temperature in the room, an unnervingly long pause, an email answered with a single, devastatingly ambiguous word. His boardroom was a masterpiece of this architecture. He was surrounded by a Praetorian guard of senior VPs, chief among them a woman named Evelyn. Evelyn was brilliant, sharp, and utterly devoted to the preservation of Marcus's reality. Her primary function was not to manage her division, but to manage the flow of information to the throne. She was the high priestess of his cult of personality. I remember a young, ferociously bright analyst in the company, let's call him Ben, stumbled upon a catastrophic flaw in the code for their upcoming flagship product. It was a deep structural problem. Rushing to launch, he argued in a memo, would not just lead to bugs, it could lead to a total system failure and a public relations disaster of epic proportions. He had the data, the projections, the proof. He brought it to Evelyn. I wasn't in the room, but I heard about the meeting afterward from a colleague who was. Ben, earnest and armed with his data, laid out the case. He spoke of risk mitigation, of brand integrity, of long-term strategy. He was speaking the language of a healthy organization. He was speaking a foreign tongue. Evelyn listened with a placid, unreadable smile. When he was finished, she didn't engage with his data. She didn't ask clarifying questions. She asked one question and one question only. Does Marcus know about this interpretation? The emphasis was entirely on the word interpretation. Ben was confused. It wasn't an interpretation, it was a mathematical certainty. But he was beginning to understand. The facts did not matter. The only thing that mattered was the leader's narrative. The launch was Marcus's pet project. He had publicly staked his reputation on its timeline. Any data that contradicted that timeline was not a helpful warning, it was an obstacle, an act of betrayal. Evelyn thanked Ben for his diligent work, took his report, and assured him she would integrate his findings into the broader launch summary. 2 weeks later, at the final go-no-go meeting with Marcus Thorne, Evelyn presented the summary. She was masterful. Ben's catastrophic flaw was reframed as a minor anomaly, a known variable that had been successfully modeled and contained. His projections of failure were never mentioned. The architecture held. The silence was preserved. Marcus Thorne, hearing only the echo of his own desires, gave the order. Launch. The product went to market, and it failed. It failed spectacularly, publicly, and humiliatingly. The system crash Ben had predicted happened not to a test group, but live on a global stage. The company's stock plummeted. The brand was savaged. It cost them billions. Marcus Thorne's empire of fear, so formidable within the walls of his boardroom, proved to be a house of cards in the face of a single objective truth. The respect he commanded had the shelf life of fresh milk. It soured the instant the refrigerator of power was unplugged. This is the ultimate pragmatic failure of fear.
It builds a cage not only for the fearful, but for the feared, a cage of ignorance. Pay attention to the language in your own world. The language of deference is a dialect all its own. Fear doesn't ask for details, it offers praise. Respect doesn't seek to placate, it seeks to understand. Fear uses superlatives: brilliant, genius, perfect. Respect uses verbs: clarify, challenge, build, refine. Fear is a monologue, delivered to an audience of mirrors. Respect is a dialogue, often a difficult one. Think of a meeting you were in recently. The last time a major decision was on the table. Was the language one of inquiry or one of insurance? Was the goal to find the best answer or to endorse the boss's answer? Write inquiry or insurance in the comments below. Let's see which is more common in our shared world. I suspect I know the answer. We have seen how this dynamic is built, how it is maintained by its architects, and how it inevitably fails when confronted with reality. We see the cage. But here is the most unsettling question of all, a question that takes us beyond Machiavelli and into the deepest, most shadowed corners of our own psychology.